Welcome to today's webinar. This is how to secure data in readiness for AI adoption. We're going to be looking at a few different pieces. We're going to be looking at Purview specifically and DSPM. We will go into that later. We're joined today by a couple of colleagues from Microsoft who will introduce themselves as we go along. So we're going to start with the introductions. I'll do myself. Then a little bit about Cocho in case you've not come across us before. I'll keep that to a minimum. We're going to talk about the challenges with AI, mostly around data access and what can happen with that. We'll talk about the data security posture management and do a full demonstration of what that can do for you. Depending on time, we'll then potentially look at some of the other areas of Purview, and that is dependent on time, so we'll get to there. How we can help you to accelerate your journey to using AI effectively, and then at the end we'll have a Q&A. So my name is David Guest. I am a solution architect with Cocho, and I'm going to be hosting today. And I'm joined by Senior Product Manager Mavish Atif from Microsoft Security CXE team. They have so many different acronyms, it's difficult to remember what they are. And Ewan Fahy, who's coming across from Dublin for us, who's one of the security specialists. We'll start off initially with Ewan doing the talk. But Cocho are a Microsoft partner. We've been Microsoft partner for over 20 years. Working in identity, security, data management, managed services, SOC, and everything else. We are members of the Intelligent Security Association, and we can pretty much do anything that you'd like us to do within the M365 environment. There's an awful lot of detail on this slide about things that we can cover. I am not going to go through them all today, simply because you're here to listen to what we've got to say about AI and about data. If you've got questions, please throw them at us later. But what we'd like to do is just make sure that you're in a good position to go forward. The areas that we normally deal with, identity, as I've said, Sentinel being at the heart of the security stack, Azure modernization, data integration, moving applications to the cloud and taking advantage of the services that are there. Managing endpoints and securing them, and making sure that you get the best out of the services. And from a Cocho point of view, that is what we will always try to do and keep ourselves abreast of the environment. So DSPM matters really because until you have a good understanding of your data, where it is and how you're using it, you're not going to be able to get the best out of your AI about any of the data that you're managing. But we'll cover that. So I'm going to pass over now to Ewan, who's going to take us forward. Now, this is where we have the interesting challenges of Microsoft Teams and hopefully getting the right things in the right place at the right time.
Perfect. Thanks, Dave, for the intro. And thank you for everyone for joining today. My name's Owen. I'm a Microsoft security specialist. It'll come as no surprise, given the advent of AI as a security specialist within Microsoft over the last 2 to 3 years, a great deal of my role has been focused around helping organizations understand how they can manage and secure AI in their organization. Today, I'll talk you through at a high level some of the challenges we're seeing in the market today and some of those kind of emerging trends. And then my colleague Mavish, who's part of our customer experience engineering team, will take you through data security posture management for AI. It does exactly what it says in the tin. Data security posture management for AI helps organizations understand the risk and how to address the risk when they're preparing their organization for AI. But just to kick off with a couple of trends and what we're seeing in the market, it'll come as no surprise to anyone who's on this call that AI transformation is happening. It's happening now. What we're seeing is, users are saving up to 30 minutes a day when using generative AI tools, which can equate to 10 hours per month. We're seeing 75% of knowledge workers are already using AI, although that does beg the question, is that IT sanctioned AI solutions or solutions they've brought from their home? And then finally, and the real thing that organizations are trying to drive towards is that golden number of $3.50. And that's what all the stats are suggesting, that for every dollar of investment into AI, organizations can expect to have an ROI of $3.50. And actually, we're seeing this figure now grow to $4.50 based on recent stats. However, AI isn't without its risks and its concerns. And if you're on this call today, these are likely things that you're aware of. And really, if we were to categorize the concerns and risks of AI into three general buckets, it would really fall under organizations have concern in terms of who can access data via generative AI, and can that lead to a data leak? Broadly speaking, that can be categorized as, do users have access to information that is not intended for them? The second thing that organizations have a concern around is lack of visibility into the vulnerabilities inherent in AI tools. What we're essentially seeing today is organizations are mandating that their users use a secure AI tool, but they don't have visibility of the use of unsanctioned AI applications in their organization, and also the risks that these prevent. Essentially, some tools train their foundational AI models using your data. And if you put highly sensitive and corporate data into them, this can be surfaced via these AI models. So what organizations need to do is understand what AI tools they sanction and unsanction, but also understand the proliferation of unsanctioned AI tools in their organization, so they can devise a plan to remediate and mitigate against this risk. And then finally, organizations are under increased regulatory pressure with the advent of the EU AI Act and many acts likely to follow. Organizations now need to consider how they can continue to adhere to their regulatory obligations while trying to innovate and benefit from the glories of AI. We do see a lot of organizations implementing acceptable AI use policies and mandating their users do use a particular tool. But all the stats would suggest, and this will come as no surprise to any IT professionals, that users will always use the most effective tool in their eyes to achieve the outcome that they're trying to achieve. And stats would suggest that 89% of users would bypass cybersecurity if it enabled them to achieve a business objective. So fundamentally, if you're not giving your users a tool that is a secure, or if you're not giving your users an AI tool to use, they will bring one from home. So what organizations need to do is ultimately have a sanctioned AI tool in the organization, but be able to manage and mitigate the risk of the tools being used more broadly. Now, when you're preparing your organization for AI, there's a couple of questions that you need to be able to ask yourself and be able to ratify. Firstly, what type of AI applications are being used in the organization? Are these safe? Are these not safe? Can we prevent usage of them? Secondly, what type of sensitive data is flowing into these AI interactions? Are people using this to plan their upcoming holiday to Barcelona or plan an upcoming barbecue? Or are they using this to summarize highly sensitive corporate information, not in a malicious, but just in a kind of slightly accidental way? They may be actually leaking your data into a insecure AI tool. And then finally, what are the outputs being provided by AI, and is this being well governed? If your users are using generative AI to access and service information in your organization so that they can operate more effectively, are we ensuring that this data is secure and we can control what those users are doing with it to prevent accidental oversharing, or perhaps identifying if there's any risky insiders who may try to exfiltrate data outside of your organization? So this begs the question, how can organizations begin to assess the risk of generative AI in their organization and plan accordingly? Microsoft in November released a new capability called Data Security Posture Management. This helps organizations understand risks in the use of AI and secure and govern against these. What this allows organizations to do is devise a strategy targeted for their organization so that they can prepare for their AI journey. Now, they say picture speaks 1,000 words, and I'd say a demo does way more than 1,000. So with that, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Mavish, who'll be providing you a demo of data security posture management to bring this to life for you and your organization.
Thank you so much, Owen. I just want to check if what I'm sharing is visible.
All good.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So hello and welcome everyone. My name is Mavish Atif and I am a product manager in Security CXC in Microsoft. Yes, we use a lot of acronyms, but CXC is an easy one to remember. It stands for Customer Experience Engineering. And today I have been invited by Kocho and my colleague Owen, who is a security solution specialist in Microsoft and with whom I work actively to give you an overview of what DSPM for AI is. And before I begin and before I take you through a short demo of DSPM for AI, I just want to make a very quick clarification. So a lot of customers that we speak to think that DSPM for AI is a new tool. So essentially, you'll see that it does look like it's a new tool, but essentially it is all of the native Purview capabilities. So Microsoft Information Protection, data loss prevention, insider risk management, all of those capabilities, but these capabilities are now available to you to start using them in the context of a new landscape, which is GenAI technologies. So how do you use MIP, DLP, IRM to now protect your AI applications, the usage of AI applications and agent? And for that bit, I'm going to, just to serve as a visual aid and to clarify, I'm going to use this presentation. I might not use the presentation mode because I would just be trying to, find out the pieces of content which I think are important to present at a time. So this one right here is to just give awareness to all of you what Purview stands for. So Purview is a list of capabilities. We used to have compliance.microsoft.com earlier, which all of you must be fond and familiar with. But with the extension of data security to non-M365 or multi-cloud assets, there has been the whole name changing and the whole consolidation, which has led to the name change in the form of Microsoft Purview. So here you can see that we have data security, all of the features that you're familiar. Just one second, I think my... So we have on the left-hand side, we have all the features in data security that you're familiar with. And then with the extension to multi-cloud, we have data governance. And then data compliance is something that a lot of customers that I speak to are familiar with because they have been using features like e-discovery and audit actively. And to Owen's point on the regulatory compliance, we have seen certain industries also using the compliance manager effectively because that's where within the compliance manager is you can find different regulations and see how your organization is faring on them. And with that, I think this slide is important to help me drive the clarification, which is that all of the features that you saw on the left-hand side and some of the features on the compliance side that you saw in the earlier slide, now we have extended that to AI apps and agents, and that is what DSPM for AI essentially entails. So we started off with saying that compliance.microsoft.com is the set of capabilities including DLP, MIP that will help you protect your trade secrets that are within Microsoft M365, but then we extended that to non-Microsoft 365 estates as well. And now because we understand and empathize that a lot of customers today have this vision, it can be a multi-year vision or it can be a roadmap where all of them want to acquire and start using AI applications. So we have extended those native protection features to AI applications as well. So that's just something that I wanted to lay the ground on. And then finally, this slide is also, before I do the demo, I want to take the help of this slide to help you understand what do I mean when I say enterprise AI applications, when I'm showing the demo. So this entails to any application, any enterprise application that is Entra registered. We have documentation, Microsoft Tech Community documentations that can show you how you can integrate ChatGPT Enterprise using Purview, using SDKs to help Microsoft Purview protection extend to ChatGPT Enterprise. And then the native Microsoft Copilot experiences are listed here. And then when I show the demo and when I show you other AI applications in the reporting piece, so this essentially means other applications such as DeepSeek, Google Gemini, ChatGPT, etc. So with that, I am going to now switch into the demo. And how do I land it up into DSPM for AI? And before I do that, I don't know if I can see interactions, but how many of you have even played around with DSPM for AI, which was formerly known as AI Hub? Is there a show of reactions that can help me ascertain where your awareness is?
Not sure that Town Hall has the reactions that Teams normally has, so that's going to be a challenge.
Okay, that's all right. That's okay. So what we can do is maybe after the webinar, I can come up with a short survey kind of a thing, and we can send it across to see if anyone can, like if people can show their awareness, and that will help us as engineering also make a connection and to see if we can, have deeper conversations to see what kind of feedback they have. So anyways, so how I landed up into DSPM for AI is obviously I'm in the Purview portal. Under solutions, I can see that I have data security posture management, and its subset is DSPM for AI. So before I even go and start showing what you can leverage from DSPM for AI, DSPM itself has been one of our the leading ask that we have had from our customers, and it was irrespective of any AI fueled transformation that we are seeing, because customers always had to rely on the work that partners do, like for instance what Kojo would do, or for the work that someone like the data security administrator would do, to be able to understand what's that posture looking like when it comes to data security, which means, do we have sensitive data? Where does that data reside? Is that data subject to being exfiltrated? So that visibility on data at rest, data in transit, and then to have the lens to see, are there any trends that are available based upon what we can see, based upon is there any Microsoft recommendation to fix those, and as a result, are there any trends that are showing us that yes, we're going in the right direction, or maybe we're not going in the right direction. So that all of that piece is data security posture management. And maybe one of our future webinars would be to see how what this is all about. And data security posture management, obviously, because Microsoft has started infusing Gen AI features to help you protect better. So data security posture management is going to use security copilot capability to give you what kind of recommendations, what kind of analysis that you can do while you are, while you are trying to look at the posture. So for instance, you can use this to start with security copilot to detect which sensitive files were shared outside the organization last week, which devices were involved in exfiltration activities. So this is just to help you understand that one, posture is something that was a hugely requested capability, and that's why Microsoft came up with it. And now we are infusing with Security Copilot, the power with Security Copilot to help you do that much better. But then there was another highly requested asks from customers like yourself, which was to understand and have this posture when it comes to looking at activities or interactions on AI applications as well. So within DSPM for AI, you will see that that it's pointing to sensitive interactions for AI applications as well. And this essentially leads you into DSPM for AI, which is the topic of our webinar today. When it comes to the demo of DSPM for AI, it's essentially very simple. What you need to understand is that you will, like, how do you use DSPM for AI? So you come into the reports once you've done all of the configurations and setup, and that's the important piece, and which is the neglected piece in my opinion. But in terms of a demo or in terms of having you understand how you would be using, is to go into the reporting piece and to start looking at how all AI interactions are happening over time. So under the reporting piece, you will see that that you have certain interactions, like certain blades, certain tiles in this blade, like in this on this page are going to show you activities over specifically Copilot. And then here you can see total interactions over other enterprise applications as well. And for most organizations that I speak to, they want to know if they have invested in Copilot for M365, they want to know, are users really, is there adoption? Are users really using it or not? So this is one way of looking at that activity. And the same is available for other AI applications as well. So total visits that have happened across ChatGPT, Google Gemini, etc. But then here's the important piece, because you also want to see, as part of your posture management, what sensitive data or sensitive information types have been shared with these different AI applications, whether they are Microsoft Copilot experiences, whether they are enterprise AI applications or third-party AI applications. And this is what we have surfaced here. And if you go into the view details, there's nothing new, like I said, because it will take you into the familiar experience of the Activity Explorer. And here you can drill down further. So for instance, if I want to see that in a specific application, like I can pick any application. For instance, I can say that for ChatGPT, I want to see if any custom SITs that are important for me, that could be a trade secret. As an example, I have in my tenant an SIT, which is about a merger and acquisition. And I want to see if any employees internally have referenced that SIT in ChatGPT. And here I can see within the Activity Explorer that yes, I have all the details, the timestamp, the user, who has interacted with ChatGPT in a slightly risky way by asking information about the SIT, which is important for me and which I want to protect. So that was the whole, that's the whole idea of providing you the reports, so that you can drill down and see what are the, where are all the sensitive interactions happening. But the next obvious step to that is, how do we do to protect those interactions? And even before that is the obvious question, how do I even, start with this experience where I can not only see simply interactions over time, not only see what kind of sensitive information types have been captured in those AI experiences, can I even see unethical interactions? And this is something that's common to, this is coming from, again, communication compliance, which is an existing feature of Microsoft Purview. However, unethical interactions in communication compliance has now extended to AI applications as well. So that visibility is also available to you. But the whole idea is for you to use this to go to the next step, which is, how do I protect all of these experiences? So just to quickly wrap up on the reporting piece, here we are also showing you if you have any labels that are important for you. So Project Obsidian, a custom label, Prosware merger custom labels, any labels. And labels, in my opinion and in my experience, are the most important way for you to start protecting your data now that you have this new territory of AI applications, because we all understand that it's not AI applications that are introducing risk to data security. It's not these applications in itself, but it's the lack of proper protection that is not there. We are used to behaviors such as when we create links and SharePoint links, the default sharing option is with everyone. So all of those bad behaviors are now only surfacing and becoming more persistent because of the use of GenAI applications. So I still think that it's going back to the basics, which is now really understanding that labels are important for us and they should be in place to enforce access control. And then similarly, we are also providing a lens on sensitive interactions based upon insider risk. So insider risk, again, it's not anything new in Purview. It's insider risk. Like this report here is fueled with insider risk management. What this solution does is it scores, like it tells you, this provides you the ability to see what's the risk created by internal users, people within the organization, because data does not move itself. It's people who are moving data. So is there a way that your employees their behavior is changing and they are based upon certain changes, job changes, leaving the job, leaving the company, based upon those changes, are they now interacting with sensitive data in a slightly riskier way? That's what all insider risk is all about. And here we are showing you how that is present in the context of AI applications. So as an example, an employee who is leaving the organization, they start using Copilot for M365, which is a sanctioned app, but they're asking a lot of questions about the Prosware merger. They might be having some malicious intent before they join the other company, but that's the whole idea. So you're getting visibility here from the reporting piece. And then, like I said, the whole idea is to take recommendations. So based upon what you saw, what is it that I can do to start protecting? And all of those recommendations are listed here. But we have this really, really great article that has been published by engineering. And that's the one that I want to point you to. I will put that and other resources in the deck as well, which we will share after the session, which will help you really simplify what recommendations to start implementing at what time. So instead of being overwhelmed, because when I have my one-on-one interactions with customers, it is sometimes it's difficult for them to say, okay, which recommendation do I take first? Like I really don't understand which one in which order or which priority. So for that, I will point you to this article. Again, this has been the effort of Microsoft Engineering, and this is basically to serve like a deployment guide. How do you deploy Purview DSPM for AI to secure all AI applications? So the way this article is structured is that it's going to guide you through the prerequisites. So you saw the reports that I showed you. Before all of those beautiful visuals start coming in, you need to take a little bit of action to enable some prerequisites, and enabling Purview audit is one of them. Once you have done that, then there is a recommendation. So the first recommendation is to create a detect risky interactions detect risky interactions in AI applications policy. Now this policy, I'm thinking how much time do we have if I can really go deeper into each of these policies. But
you carry on going as deep as you want. The demo is more important than slides.
Okay, perfect. So this is, in my opinion, detect risky interactions in AI applications is a very powerful way for you to start seeing the visuals. So remember, this is going to be again about detections, and protections will follow. So the way that the article has been written, that it's going to give you what are the recommendations for you to start detecting, and then it's going to give you what are the recommendations with which you start protecting. So I'm just going to show you the policy. How does it look like? So essentially, it's pointing you to create a control that will calculate user risk by detecting any risky activity, prompts or responses in Copilot for M365, in third-party AI applications or enterprise AI applications. It's applying to all users and groups. And then the indicators are, for example, users' activity is above their usual threshold, or if they're browsing to Gen AI website. So if I'm going to like really go into the policy, so you can see now this is from here, this is leading me into insider risk management. So even if you don't know, or if you don't have any policies created, this will make it easier for you. And I can see this policy here. You might say that, okay, how do I create it? So in that case, we are providing you with templates. And here's the template that's available for this specific policy. And you can see that we have mentioned what are the prerequisites in order to create this policy. Only 2 of them are required. So which means because we are capturing activity, so the purview browser extension is specifically called out, and obviously the browsing indicator has to be selected as well. Other than this, these are all optional and prerequisites that will enrich your policy and your reporting further. Device onboarding. It's also device onboarding is something that's also called out specifically when you look at the prerequisites. HR data connector, it's again an optional thing, but again, in my opinion, highly recommended because many of you still don't know what are the leaps and bounds that we have made on the intra side of things, which means that some years ago when I used to talk to customers, they would have all sorts of ways of bringing or integrating their HR, for instance, their on-premises HR systems with Entra. At that time, it wasn't Entra. But now we have solutions like APIs that have been published that are available publicly that you can automate that piece. So that's a separate discussion. But then again, this enriches your analytics. And if you don't want to do this, again, remember, this is just a recommendation because under the triggering events, we can also use user account deleted from Entra ID that can also serve as one of the triggering events. And then communication compliance policy, like I said, anytime any inappropriate content, stock manipulation, or any HR violation, again, communication compliance because it's using Microsoft built-in trainable classifiers, which use machine learning. So this communication compliance policy is going to be pretty much a standard CC policy. When I say CC, it means communication compliance policy, but it will surface any of those activities based upon if that detection is being done on the AI landscape. So let me just show you like the part where you can see the triggering events, like when would this policy start capturing information. So you can see we had the communication compliance trigger, then the trigger from Entra ID when the user account is deleted, and if they are browsing to risky websites, and then you can select any of the indicators from here. So any of the, like if the user has browsed to Gen AI websites. So again, like I said, this policy is the first one that gives you a lot of details into, this gives you a lot of details into the first piece, which is having the visibility. And once that policy is created, all of the reports that I showed you when I started, those will start populating, like that screen would start populating for you. But again, like I said, the key and the important objective of DSPM for AI is to now empower you how to protect data in Copilot for M365. And in order to do that, you will again use the reporting piece to go into the Activity Explorer, drill deeper, and find out, do you need to take certain actions to enforce protections? And then under the protection guidance, we have the first thing that we have called out is sensitivity labels. And I would like to spend some time on, and I know it's a very basic requirement to have sensitivity labels, but I would like to spend a little bit of time on labels because in my experience, this is something that's absolutely basic. And with the whole, introduction to Gen AI applications and organizations adopting AI applications, this is the simplest way that you can start protecting that data. So essentially, sensitivity labels, as we all know, or if you don't know, it's a stamp, but it's not just a stamp to identify um, whether data is confidential, general, public. But the beauty that lies with labels is the enforced protection settings. So with those enforced protection settings, you can say what content is available or visible to specific groups of people. And here the example that we are using is that you can create a HR confidential label, which will only be visible for people in the HR department. So that way, if there is if there are documents that HR is using and someone out in sales tries to use Copilot to reference those documents, they won't be able to see it. Here I've just tried to show you under the label creation process. So again, if you see, technically I was supposed to do a demo of DSPM for AI, but I'm showing you a screenshot of the label creation process, because the whole idea about DSPM for AI is to help you use the already available existing features to protect the AI landscape. So here I'm just showing you under the label creation process, you can signify what permissions, what group of people that you want those permissions to apply for. And then Copilot, because Copilot honors the extract usage right for a user. So as long as they have the extract usage right, Copilot is going to summarize that output for them. So this is just a screenshot of example in Copilot chat and PowerPoint where the extract usage right is present. And if that usage right is not present, then the user will get, Copilot will not summarize that response for the user. So again, pointing down to the basics that please follow. If you've not started using labels, please start using them. And then this is my favorite experience, and which is auto labeling. Because now with the usage rights and with the permissions that you have used, which is great. But now if you start using auto labeling, then in this case, this is an output this is a response from Copilot. And here you can see the top part is where the user has the permissions, extract permissions, and the bottom part is where they do not have permissions, and that part is not available as part of the summary. So that's a great way of using encryption with auto labeling. Again, auto labeling is very powerful because as users interact and start drafting a document and they reference another document, so because auto labeling is in place, that document will immediately, this will be a pause and reflect moment for the user that, okay, this is a sensitive document, and which means that it's going to have specific ways of handling that document. Because of the presence of auto labeling, the response that the Copilot's response is going to also inherit the most restrictive sensitivity label. So again, if you see, I am talking about labeling, although we are here in DSPM for AI, but in my opinion, under protections, this is the most important recommendation for you. And then the second that we have called out is is to create a data loss protection policy. And the purpose of which is to restrict the processing of content with a specific sensitivity label in Copilot. So again, what does this look like? So which means, let me show you the end user experience and then I'll show you what it's like. So what this means is that you're using Copilot to summarize Project Obsidian, but Copilot is going to deny doing that. And remember, if Project Obsidian is also using labels with encryption, so even if the document is referenced here, the person would not be able to view it because of the access permissions. And how do you do this? This is simply nothing new. Here is a screenshot of data loss prevention policy creation in DLP. And the only thing that I have done here is that I selected the label, which is Project Obsidian. And then under actions, I just have this new capability which is saying that exclude content which is marked with Project Obsidian from being processed in Copilot. So that was the second recommendation that's been called out. And then we are also pointing you to use DSPM for AI data risk assessments. Let me see if this is, yes, data risk assessments or data assessments. So data assessments are, again, let me show you what it means. Data assessments right here, if you can see here, data assessments are a very powerful way for you to look at what could be the potential oversharing risk specific to your tenant. And not only that, it will also provide you fixes. And under data risk assessments, you will see that there is a default assessment that's going to scan top 100 SharePoint sites. But you can also create custom assessments. And when you create custom assessments, like the whole value addition with data risk assessments is that you can now look at when that assessment completes, you can see what are the total items in that, how many of them have been accessed by unique users, how many of them contain sensitive information types, and are they shared within the organization or outside of the organization. So all of that information is available within the assessments. And then essentially on the protection piece, because we are calling out the recommendations. So this is the part which is essentially important. And again, like I mentioned, this protection for the SharePoint site, which has been as part of the scope of the data risk assessment, whether it's a default assessment, whether it's a custom assessment, but this protection is calling out to you different ways of protecting by using labels. So in the beginning, when I talk to customers, they all want to do restricted SharePoint search because they've started using Copilot, and there are certain SharePoint sites that they don't want to be summarized by Copilot. But that's not a great way of using a tool like Copilot for M365. So if you want to protect and use the basics to do that, so you can see, again, it's about using labels. It's about the DLP policy that I told you about. And then labels can be implemented in different ways. So you can create default sensitivity labels. You can use auto labeling. So all of that is called out here. And then retention policies, data lifecycle management's retention policy is also a recommendation that's provided here. And then under monitoring, you're also given the recommendation on running regular access reviews. So if you want to make sure that that attack surface is limited, so that people should not have long-standing access to those SharePoint sites, so you can run access reviews. Either you run those access reviews through SharePoint or you run them through Microsoft Entra. That's being called out for you to start implementing today. So that is so far what we have been talking about is in relation to Copilot for M365. And under protection, we are also talking about DSPM itself. Again, I'm not going to go into the detail of that. But the next piece is to govern Copilot for M365. And under governance, we have 3 recommendations. The first one is on, under governance, we have 2 recommendations. One of them is on AI regulations. So if you see here under recommendations, again, like I said, because there's so many recommendations, how do you decide which one to go into? So now I'm shifting gears into governance. So now I see that this is the recommendation that I need to implement. And here I can see that if you go into the details in view regulations, it's going to take you to the compliance manager. And because compliance manager gets updated with the latest regulations that you can track your posture with. Today we have 4 regulations that we are matching, and these actions are things that later or even today any regulator could ask of you. So that's why when it comes to governance, we have called that out separately. So that was the first recommendation. And then the second one is on controlling unethical behavior. Again, this is the same communication compliance policy that I spoke about. And sorry, there is a third recommendation on governance, and the most important one, in fact, and which is having a way of ensuring that there is data lifecycle management. So which means that you can create a policy which is going to delete Copilot prompts after 5 years. So which means that even if a user does suspicious activity and they delete from the Copilot chat, because of this policy, that is going to be available for you to further, let's suppose, do things with e-discovery or audit or do search on that user's activity. So that's also called out here, if you can see in governance. The next piece, so far all that we covered was securing and governing Copilot for M365. The next piece is securing enterprise AI applications. Again, I'm not going to go into a lot of details for that. And the final piece is about securing other AI applications. And again, the same steps you will follow. So in order to get visibility, there will be some steps that are required on the prerequisites for you to even start having the visibility and reporting. So the first one is Purview. The instruction that's rolled out is Purview browser extension. So remember, the demo itself is very simple, but how do you even come to that experience? How can you even start having that visibility that I'm showing at your own end? So that's the instruction for the prerequisites. And this one is an important one. So under recommendations, which is, under the prerequisites, if I can show you here. So this is the one, extend your insights. So with this audit, you could start seeing activity for Copilot for M365. But if you want to extend your visibility for third-party applications, these are important. These three are required. And then extend your insights for data discovery. This has created it's a one-click experience to create these three policies. And what do these policies do? The objective is to provide you visibility. So far nothing is going to be enforced, and the objective of these policies is to detect sensitive information if it's shared in AI prompts in Edge. So the first one is going to be a collection policy. So for instance, that any prompts that are sent to ChatGPT, Consumer, Google Gemini, or Microsoft Edge, in Microsoft Edge, it's going to discover those prompts, and you can see them under reporting. And again, it's an audit mode only. So it's a Purview collections policy that's available within DLP, and again in audit mode. The second one is the insider risk management policy, detects when users browse to AI sites. And the third one is an endpoint DLP policy. But like I said, this is going to cover the non-Microsoft, like Chrome and other like Firefox, etc. But the objective is to capture that activity to AI sites. And this is again, this is going to cover all users. But again, it's going to be in audit mode. So I'm going to not really spend a lot of time, but the whole idea is to use this document to then come back to really have an idea of which recommendations can I start enforcing at what time. If I am an organization that is using enterprise ChatGPT, then what are the recommendations that are important for me? If I am allowing my users to use any kind of third-party AI applications because I'm an agile company, but at the same time I want to have protections so that our trade secrets are not leaked. So you can have a sequence of an order of how to enable which recommendations. One last thing that I wanted to call out is that all of the policies, recommendations that you enabled here, they will be available within the policy blade here. But bear in mind that these are not new policies. So any insider risk management policy that you have created would also be present in insider risk management itself. But this is just because you're in DSPM. So this is just to show you which are the ones that you have created. So remember that if you if you're not even taking a recommendation, but you have created an IRM policy, and that includes under locations any of the GenAI agents in scope, so that will start appearing here in policies. So that's one thing that I wanted to call out. And finally, another request coming from customers like yourself was on really understanding what are the protections available for each AI application. So this blade gives you just that, and it gives you that visibility in the last 30 days. So here you can see that in the case of Microsoft Copilot, I can see that what's the coverage for Copilot for M365? How many protection policies are having Copilot in scope? How many compliance policies are having that in scope? And then again, these are all the same pieces of information that I showed you earlier, but now this tile or this visual is showing you purely in the context of this application, which is sanctioned by the organization and which you're using and where you want to expand usage. So all of this activity detail is something that you can see here. So that is all from the demo perspective from my side today. I hope I've not missed out on anything significant, but I would very strongly suggest that please have a look and try to play around with these with these behaviors that I have shown to you. And if you have any feedback, that can even enrich DSPM for AI, we would be more than happy to incorporate that. And if there's any feedback where you feel that it's not meeting your expectation and it's something that can be an improvement, again, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to incorporate that. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing, and David, it's over to you.
No, thank you. And there's obviously an awful lot there to take in. So I thank you for being so complete with the demo. I've got a few slides just to remind people that Purview, as you said before, is not just for AI, but also we need to consider that your identity security is as important as your data security. If you don't understand your identities and who has access to what, you're going to be on the back foot when it comes to understanding who should have access to which pieces of data. And in order to get this going, you really need to start off with a discovery session, making sure you understand the difference between your structured and unstructured data. Classify the data. This is the labeling that we can apply, sensitivity labeling, that you can then use to help control what's going on. You need to be proactive about this. You've got to be out there looking for these issues to make sure you're in a good place and apply those labels. We all know that the functionality is there in Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Make sure that we've got the labels associated properly, and I'll add the protection on to make sure that users and AI on behalf of the user can behave correctly when it comes to being able to see the data and reuse the data. When we look at structured data, understand your architecture. What do you have, where, in what system, and how is it controlled? Many databases like SQL and Postgres have their own capabilities around security, but not every system does. So we need to be aware of how that's actually going to work and how we can apply that to systems going forward. That data mesh is a really good place to go. We need to make sure that you're ready for DSPM, so make sure you've got the license requirements in place. There was a question, and thank you for the questions in the Q&A, about why the account type is showing as free in Purview, and that's because there are elements of Purview that use subscription level detail rather than just M365, and I've posted a link in the Q&A that relates to that, and I'll add it to these slides before we go anywhere else. You need to make sure you've got the right roles assigned to people who can view this and enable the analytics. Without the analytics, DLP isn't really going to get you anywhere. Use smart sampling where you can, and identify how people are going to come in, and make sure you've got a good view of that. But in summary, DSPM is really essential for making sure your data security is good going forward. It combines automation, some AI functionality, and analytics, and it will help you to stay ahead of your threats. So what do we do next? Well, we can help you out with some baseline readiness assessments around Copilot and 365, looking at Purview and how to improve Purview overall. We'd strongly recommend reading the How to Deploy DSPM. The link was in the Q&A. It's also on this slide, but you can always reach out to the team at Cocho and we'll help you with anything else. I would say we do questions now, but we've only got about 30 seconds left. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for attending. I'd like to ask you to give some feedback. We'll send a survey out afterwards. And please give us a call, anything that you want to actually talk about. But thank you for listening.